Welcome, world. Hello, Jasmine. What's going
Good
on?
morning. Good morning. I'm doing well.
I'm excited for today's guest, man. What
Mm-hmm.
intro that you were uncomfortable doing? so, you know, uh,
Just taking a break.
you got a little scared, man. It's all good. But yeah, finding your voice, Jazz,
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our guest today did not just find his voice, but he has the audacity to share it with the world with amazing. Amazing is for amazingly Asian. If you don't know, if you're hiding under a rock, you know. Amazing is a digital news publication devoted to providing a voice to Asian American athletes. Its mission is to give a voice to perpetually undercover covered and misrepresented athletes with it
Mm-hmm.
accurately portray the community, eradicate misinformed stereotypes, and instigate inspiration for the next generation of Asian Americans. Put your hands together for our guest. We have the creator, we have the innovator, Pranav.
Welcome, Pranav.
Oh man,
How have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. Just on a little family vacation up north, and just working pretty much.
up north, where up north in Oregon?
Nah, nah. Just like north of Marin County, it's called Healdsburg.
Shit, okay.
Mm.
I was thinking,
I just got back from vacation too.
Oh, for sure. Where'd you go?
I went to South Lake Tahoe. It's a
Oh, that's dope.
beautiful area. Uh-huh.
Tahoe
Yeah.
in the summer is always great.
Sorry, what did you say? You kind of,
Tahoe in the summer is always great.
yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. It's my first time too, going to the beaches and seeing the scenery. It was really
Perfect.
nice. Mm-hmm.
well, I'm jealous because I didn't go anywhere. So anyway, how's the family? Everybody's good. Everybody's healthy.
Yep, everyone's good. We're just enjoying our time before everything gets picking up again. With COVID-19 and all, like it's our last time to just kind of like unite together. And like, although it's unfortunate circumstances, there's obviously positives that can come out of it, right?
Absolutely, there's a
Mm-hmm.
silver lining, right, to everything. You just gotta be open to find it. Um, as in my introduction, man, I just breezed a little lightly over, what the mission statement is for Amazing. What's the core inspiration that brought you to realizing it?
So for me, I'm an Indian American, and growing up, I played football my entire life, and through that, I kind of realized that there really aren't many like Asian American athletes that are at the highest level. And for me, I never really had anyone to look up to. So like when Jeremy Lin came along, he was someone that I really aspired. Even though he's a Taiwanese American, he plays basketball, but I feel like his story really resonated with me. But apart
Yeah.
from that, and a few other examples, there weren't really that many that were portrayed in the media in a positive light. And I felt like what that did is it prevented a lot of success for our community. It told our parents, our community, or even ourselves that, oh, someone who looks like me, we can't pursue this. So there's no point even trying it past high school.
Right.
And I saw that within my own friends and who had the same football dreams, same hoop dreams as me, but it was just this whole societal and cultural inhibition that prevented them. So I was like, we have such a big community of sports lovers and sports fans, sports players, and I knew that we had the talent as well. And I knew there was it just the national media wasn't portraying them. So I was like, I feel like there should have been a publication like this already. And since there wasn't, I was like, why not? It's my senior year of college. I got a chance to do something like freewheeling, and so far I think it's been having a positive impact, and that's kind of all I'm hoping for it.
So what are your feelings now about media coverage of Asian Americans? How do you feel like, it's moving?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
we moving?
Definitely, like in at least the past 5 years, we kind of had this little like Asian American wave that you've never really seen before. Like obviously, like it all started with like Crazy Rich Asians off the boat, stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
not like Never Have I Ever. It's like Indian American lead, based on an Indian American family, and that's also unprecedented. So in terms of media, like in Hollywood, that's changing a bit. Obviously, there's so much to go, but just if you go back 5 years, and you would have never pictured what we have today is reality. So in that sense, it's a lot of good. But at the same time, you also see a lot of like misrepresentation still going on, a bunch of caricatures of like, and like that is what causes people to think like, for example, for like that we can't be athletes, or we
Mm-hmm.
have to be
Mm-hmm.
engineers, doctors, and stuff like that.
Right.
So we do have a long way to go, but I think we're on our way to success in that path.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
you know the truth of the matter is that we are the we epitomize what most parents would like to see uh, as student athletes. Man, we kill it in the classroom and we thrive on the hoop court or whatever field that you play or sport that you play. You know, so Jeremy Lin is your boy. Jeremy Lin is your guy. What about him that kind of moves you, man?
Well, I guess for me, so I grew up in Cupertino. He grew up like 15 minutes away in Palo Alto, and it's very similar suburbs, kind of like heavy Asian population. And he grew up with a very rich cultural background, as did I. Um, and yeah, he faced a lot of the same struggles. Like being an Asian American, he was always counted out, and we all know that story of how he got zero offers, zero scholarships. And for someone who was a Cal High Sports Player of the Year, that's really unprecedented. Um, and obviously, my success in sports was a lot less than his. Just seeing that someone who looked like one of my friends, like that went to my school, or whose family just looked like mine,
Mm-hmm.
it really showed that it really could be possible. And even
Mm-hmm.
through all the obstacles, even through all the profiling that he had to go through, he was still able to accomplish it. And that just shows like how good he had to be, how far he had to go, and how much he had to persevere to kind of go through all those lands. And in in very minimized ways, I kind of experienced the same things as he did, and
Mm-hmm.
really helped me push through through my own sports journey.
That's good. So, I mean, speaking of Jeremy Lin, let's talk about why, he was such a big phenomenon. Why do you guys think, so?
Oh man,
Yeah,
an Asian dude
go
ball
ahead.
like that. I mean, we've seen okay, look, we've never seen an Asian dude ball like that, and not at the Mecca. Come on, man. I mean, he was the biggest thing for the first. That had to be the biggest splash of any NBA player ever, dude, that I can remember that come out of nowhere like that, and then have be in the papers front page for almost a month, 2 months.
I mean, and you have like Asian players, but not Asian American players. I
Right.
want to distinguish that difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like even just taking out like the whole Asian American thing, his rise was just unprecedented in general. Like everything
Yeah.
that he had to go through, and the fact that he was his he had the most points in NBA history for the first 3, 4, and 5 starts.
Yes.
For someone that was undrafted, counted out, cut out twice, you'll probably never see that again. So with even if he wasn't Asian American, it would have been so huge. But the fact that he was Asian American, being obviously like one of the first and one of the most prominent to have come through the NBA, that really changed everything. And like you said, Asian American, there's a huge difference, because a lot of us we're not going to relate to like Yao Ming
Yeah.
or
Right.
a lot of the
Exactly.
other Korean, Japanese players that have come through.
Mm-hmm.
Like for Indian, there's Satnam Singh, he was like the 7'1" center. Those are stories that I'm not going to relate to. First of all, I'm never going to be 7 foot. Second of
Right.
all, it's just different upbringing. Like Yao Ming was kind
Uh-huh.
of bred from the beginning to be a basketball player. Like both of his parents were these gigantic people and the whole point was to help him help the China win the 2008 Beijing Olympics.
Yeah.
His
Which
opportunities was way different. His basketball experience.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I'll relate to so much more, and I think that just makes it so much more like homey.
Right.
Yeah. Was it?
Speaking, you know, speaking on, or let's just jump on the aftermath of the Jeremy Lin story, man. With after winning the NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors, you know, he still had a decent NBA career, right? But you know, it was about the system at times. Well, no, it is about the system for Jeremy, right? It's that pick and roll. He killed the pick and roll. He after New York, he went to Houston. He had to share the ball with James.
James Harden. Mm-hmm.
And then after that, he went to what? To Charlotte, or what was it? Atlanta.
Lakers.
Okay.
He went
Lakers, yeah.
Lakers and
Play with Kobe. That's right. I mean, it was a pretty up and down
He
career.
also had some injuries, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was
Mm-hmm.
so, and then he has the opportunity to win the title with Toronto, and yeah, he didn't play for any NBA teams after that. He's currently, what team does he play for? The Beijing Ducks.
Beijing Ducks, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about his you know, his career after the NBA, and how do you feel about how the NBA treating him, because he's what, 31, something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There was a lot of unfortunate circumstances that kind of led to his exit from the NBA. He kind of needs a certain system for him to succeed, and he's a very ball dominant point guard. And obviously, like with playing with Harden, playing with Kobe, playing with Kemba, those aren't obviously the most ideal, especially because a lot of them play point many of the possessions. And in addition to that, it was obviously like he had this whole wave, like, oh, after Linsani, like you're supposed to be like the next big thing. He got this big contract. But and it's so hard to live up to after coming from nothing, right? Really. And really what I think is like when his 2017 year I think it was 2017 year, on his second year on the Nets, that was really supposed to be his breakout year. He was going to him and D'Angelo the stars of the franchise, and the season before that he was out for majority of the season. He only played like about 30 games, but he was averaging about like 16 17 a game, and when he was playing, and he was doing really well. And he had the coach of the Nets at that time was the one who really trusted him during Linsanity back on the Knicks. So in that sense, it was a perfect fit for him. But unfortunately, first game in, he had that season-ending injury. So it was bad. And going to Atlanta, he played a really great job to being like a veteran backup to Trae Young. I think he's probably averaging like 10.5, 11 points a game. And then, like you said, he chose to go to the Raptors, wanted to win a ring, being the first Asian American hooper to win a NBA championship. That in itself is huge, even though he didn't play the biggest role. It's like you can't take that from him.
Yeah.
And he's
and then we've all
about it too. You know what I mean? So he's feeling a certain way about it, but he deserves it, man. I mean, he played a role on that team, regardless if he played a minute or two on the court or not, man. There's a bigger part of the team concept other than just the game. You know what I mean?
Like behind the scenes, practices, he's there. You know?
And all that stuff. You know what I
and
mean?
I know what that's like. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but
And he's obviously like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he like going to Beijing, like playing in China. I know that's always been like one of his goals. Like he always said that he wanted to do that at the end of his career. I know this is not going to be the end of his career.
Hopefully not.
And he still wants to go to the NBA. But obviously he's gonna be so much more loved in China. He's obviously the like most favorite player there, and he has been for years. So getting that support is going to be huge, and having the impact in China and Taiwan and just surrounding Asian countries in terms of basketball is huge to like help grow the sport there as well.
Like a Kobe there right now, man. He is totally the opposite of after the New York experience for him, because everybody loved Jeremy Lin when he played for New York, but after New York it was a little odd, and he deserves the love and support, man. And you know, I hope he's able to harness that and take this opportunity to do all the things that he wants to do with basketball and other and off the court stuff that he likes to do.
Right.
So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
go ahead, Jazz.
Okay. So what is our role to ensure telling and sharing the Asian American experience in history?
So you're saying our role as Asian American like journalists and stuff to help tell the story?
Yeah.
I think as Asian American journalists, we kind of have like a interesting perspective because we can relate to their stories even more, and we were able to tell them in a more accurate light. Like say like what we had with Jeremy Lin when he first came up to the scene, there was so much like misrepresentation because his story was like never told before, so no one really knew how to tell it. And we saw with like those misleading headlines, those racist headlines that we saw, even though
Right.
those were ill-intentioned. I mean, not ill-intentioned. They weren't meant to be ill-intentioned. They still resulted in that. And I think in that sense, we have the ability to better accurately portray them. And also, I think being Asian Americans, we naturally have a tendency to be more passionate about these stories. So we can, it won't just be another story for us or another report for us. It'll be something that we're actually putting our invested efforts in, kind of like what we're doing. You guys are with Asian All American and me with AMAZN. Asian Americans telling these stories, I think, is super important, and that's what will help push the narrative even further.
Right. And
Right.
we are like the biggest consumers of sports in the Bay Area too, man.
Didn't Oracle sell out because who was it buying out all the tickets?
When you went to an Oracle game during that whole run, that whole Oracle arena it felt like it was like 6% You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how many games I went to. I went to a lot of the. I went to the first. The first two championship games. Yeah, the first two championship games, man, or that whole year. That was incredible, dude. And the kind of love and support that the Asian community shows, dude. Dude, they were literally like all the Asians bought up all the middle seats. You know what I'm saying? All the middle. And you see all the CEOs of all the tech companies. There are some sprinkled in the front row as well. And there was a lot of them in the cheap seats too. But dude, we were a part of that die hard, that road dogs, man, that they need, man. I don't know if you guys went to any games up there at the Chase Center. Not the same, dude. Not this, like the one of the things that we did in the Oracle was dude, everybody would stand until the first three was hit. You know what I'm saying? That's what we did in the playoffs, dude. Everybody would stand and not sit down till the first three was hit. Or was it? Well, it's normally our buckets are threes.
Man, I missed out.
So within 10 seconds.
And at the Chase, everybody's sipping on wine, eating crackers and cheese. It's a little different crowd, but I'm not gonna hate on that, man. How are you feeling? Well, for three things. The coronavirus, or two things: the coronavirus and the effect it has on the Asian American community, and how do you feel about the Black Lives Matter with the George Floyd death? So start off with the first one: coronavirus and the effects it's having on the Asian American community, man.
Definitely. I think, obviously, like we all know that coronavirus is bad and it affects all of us. Like it's not gonna discriminate. But the way that our president, our political representation and our community and just like random communities in America are portraying it is they're really putting a negative light towards Asian Americans, and that really is impacting a lot of people. Like for me being Indian American, obviously I'm not going to receive much of that. But for many East Asians, Southeast Asians, there's going to be a lot of discrimination. And even though if you're not Chinese, racists aren't going to discriminate who they're going to be racist to.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be a lot of change in that, but it all starts at the top, because everyone's going to be listening to Trump and to his cabinet and stuff like that. But I don't see that changing with how he's addressing it with kung fu and all that stuff, because I know he's very stubborn and he's very strict to his ways. He doesn't think is impacting anyone. He even says that in that case. But I do believe that there has been a really good response by the Asian American community, and even through like the black community, Hispanic community. There's been a lot of support in that regard, and they've been fighting for against the discrimination and for rights and stuff like that. Even like these hoodies that I sold, they're actually 50% of the profits I had were going to a nonprofit called Act to Change, and they fight for against discrimination in the Asian American community, but also in other communities. So they are taking a big stand for Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. And yeah, and then going to like Black Lives Matter, I think that has been a conversation that it's been in the mainstream now, but it really has been like something in the making that's for centuries. And even like when the Black Lives Matter movement started, I think back in like 2014 or 2015, I don't remember exactly. And the whole Colin Kaepernick kneeling thing, there was so much controversy then. There's so much division between the All Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement. But I think as you see so many repeated things happening, people are starting to realize that this really is a systemic problem, and it's not like these aren't just one-off cases, and we're not just fighting for nothing. So I think in that sense, there's been a lot of progress where people are really realizing that action has to be made and they can't just be complacent. And it's the whole thing about being not racist versus anti-racist. You cannot do anything bad, but not be willing to help the positive end. But being an anti-racist, that's really propelling change. And though we still have so much to grow in that regard, I really believe there's a definite push in the positive sense. And kind of talking about like Asian Americans and Black Lives Matter, I think there is a lot of anti-Blackness within the Asian American community. Like even in the South Asian community, within the Indian community, I see it a lot. We have this whole thing where it's like we like to fantasize Black culture, like Black hip hop, Black sports, stuff like that. But we fail to recognize all of the problems that the Black community has faced for hundreds of years and even to this day. And I think there definitely has to be reform in that. And it starts with ourselves. It starts with teaching our friends, teaching our family, because obviously our family is not going to be as educated. Some of our older family won't be as educated as we are on these topics because they came from different communities.
Their priorities
and I think,
their priorities
right.
are, they're provide for the family, and us, we're just trying to go to school and we listen to the music, we eat the food, we wear the fashion, we play ball like them. It's like, we have to have that tough conversation because there is this anti-Blackness in some Asian communities, and we would not have the civil rights and the immigration acts if it wasn't for the NAACP and other organizations that are fighting for civil rights, man. So once we come to realization with that, and I don't even know what the problem is, with giving giving just due for that and appreciating it, man. Appreciate it, man. There were lives laid on the line, you know what I mean? So hey, I'm just so back on the positive. No, go ahead.
I also feel like people fail to realize that it wasn't long ago that our parents immigrated here. We're the first wave of Asian Americans. A lot of first generation students are graduating now. And so what I like to tell my friends and family is that we're the generation of change. Yeah, and hopefully we can keep moving forward.
And
right. And kind of
participate too, Pranav, in the process. You know, like I know that many of us, we are, I hate this model Asian thing, you know, the model
Minority.
yeah, the minority group. I mean, the model minority group. Dude, I hate that, man. And because that's a lazy. I mean, I don't want to say lazy, but I'm just saying it's easy for us to not do anything if we are the
right.
most educated and we make the most money out of all the groups in the United States. But there is a bigger disparity between rich and poor in the Asian American community as well, right? But I think we need to do a little bit more. We need to partake in the process, man. You know what I mean? And I think the Asian community, I mean, this pan Asian community, we need to be able to coalesce, like, you know, like moments like what you know, Black folks are able to do, like all the Jewish, you know, the Jewish community always, man, dude, the Jewish community have over 180 organizations, dude. They move as one, dude. You know, that's what we need to do. We need to find some kind of empowerment in coming together. Every whole Pan Asian community here in the United States, man. We need to be able to do that because we have influence. We have influence, but we have to be able to use that influence in education, influence in economics. Dude, we can do a lot of things. Anyways, I'm just spouting, man.
And I definitely, just to add on to that, I definitely think that, like, as Asian Americans, we're kind of taught to, like, keep our heads down and, like, just focus on our own problems. We gotta realize that we can't just do that. We have to stand up for what we think is right. Because at the end of the day, we really aren't. We have to believe that we are only equal until all of us are equal. Yes. And right now, that isn't the truth. And we also have to realize that back home in Asia, there's a lot of Asian Americans that are against all these protests, against all the rioting that's happening. Back home in Asia, we have so much of that because of all the injustices there, like with Tiananmen Square. And we have to, like, remind our parents of all that stuff, and also remind them, like, a lot of our parents came to America for a better life or to escape for refugees. And in the same sense, kind of the African American community is kind of fighting for the same reasons, and we have to kind of empathize with that struggle.
Right. And you know, the whole thing with one last thing before Jazz, you ask your last question. You know, we have this immigration thing now, man. We have foreign exchange students. From Asian countries that are
being deported.
Yeah, being deported, man. You know, and that's a little tough thing. I mean, that's immigration laws. It affects every group, man, not just Asian. We got Mexicans and Nigerians and whatever other recent immigrants coming in. But yeah, these are all things that we have to. I think we have to have these conversations with each other, with our families, with our friends. We need more representation in all aspects of the American society, dude. We need representation. We need to be able to. There are a lot of Jeremy Lins out there. You know what? But we need to look for them, pick them up, support them. You know,
everything.
Yeah. We need to just be proactive in that. You know, I don't think, you know, and that's our job. We have to create our own media, like AMAZN, like we have to create that platform, and that's what we're doing right now. So,
and we're proud of you, Pranav, for doing this. The first time I saw a video that you done in your work, I was all like, whoa, who is this person? You know, it's amazing to see that you're really covering Asian Americans, and it's done by an Asian American. So yeah, and we're proud of you. And we also heard that you're getting an ESPN internship.
Yeah, so I actually just started that a couple of days ago.
Yeah, tell us how it goes, and I mean, how did you get there? Or how did you even like get into media and all this?
Yeah, well, I guess for me, it all kind of started back in high school. I really didn't know, like, I really didn't have any academic passions. Like, I kind of just like hated school,
Yeah.
and I was just like all about football. And then like one of my family friends like encouraged me to try out like journalism. We had this journalism publication called El Estoque because she knew my love for sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to try it out. I fell in love with like sports journalism because I realized it's something that I was actually passionate about. And then you also have that ability to kind of tell these stories of the underrepresented and really embark on like create social change through that. And that's kind of why I pursued it in college. And in college, I kind of like came into more of my Asian American identity, especially like being a college football player,
Relatable.
an Asian American college football player. I'm pretty sure I'm the first Indian American college football player in my school's history, and it shouldn't be like that. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
but but given that, it's like you realize so much more. Like you look onto the field and you're like, wow, am I really in the right place? Do I fit in here?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of struggles that come with that. And I think I realized like that's why I started AMAZN. That's why I did stuff like this. And the ESPN internship is actually it was kind of like a partnership with this organization called AAJA. It's the Asian American Journalists Association. And they just help to uplift Asian American journalists because we still are a minority in that field as well. Um,
Mm.
and that organization also gave me the opportunity to like work on a 6-month piece last year about Asian American basketball. I don't know if you've been able to check it out, but last year I wrote like an 8,000 word like
Yeah.
long form like article
And
Wow.
that like it features stuff like about like I got to interview like 30 different people who are like from like the Linsanity producer, like a bunch of Jeremy Lin's coaches and teammates, a bunch of like pro and like college hoopers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
got to interview like the Fung Bros, if you know them, David Fung,
Yes, I know
uh,
them.
historians, American historians, and even like Natalie Nakase, who's like one of the LA Clippers coaches.
right.
And just like that, I
Mm-hmm.
realized like there's such a big community for Asian American sports, even more than I expected myself. So that's kind of like why I started AMAZN. It's just like there is a community, they just needed that platform, um, and like with ESPN, it's like super dope because like, so I'm a social media intern, and it's obviously not like the biggest role, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's super dope that you can have that impact. And ESPN is such like I feel like one of the most progressive companies, and they have so many Asian American journalists. They feature a bunch of like Asian American talent,
Yes.
it's like not even just Asian American, even like other minorities and stuff. And I think I'm just blessed to be involved in a company like this.
Right.
That's
Well,
amazing.
just in closing, like Jasmine said, we are so proud of you. Just getting to do a little research about AMAZN and learning a lot about what inspires you, what motivates you, man. It I think we need to, again, I think it's our job to make sure that we elevate and appreciate and support people like both of you guys and all of us, really, right? Because really, we are everywhere. We are in. There's a lot of Asian journalists, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
people in Hollywood, not enough. And I think we need to. It's our job to talk about it, highlight these people, and support these people, and take it in our own hands, man, to create this
Yes.
media and fervor, frenzy. You know what I mean? And yeah, we have a long way to go, but I am optimistic, man. So thank you again for being generous with your time. Thank your family for allowing you to spend some time with us. And I'll let you have the last word, man. What is give us something that we can
Help
get through
people.
this day, man, to help us get through
Yeah.
this. People that is waiting for their unemployment check, man. Those who people don't know if they're going to be able to play ball in high school or college this fall, this winter. Yeah, give us some hope and inspiration with those sly, slick, journalistic bars you got, brother. Give it to us. You have 2
Pretty
minutes.
much, I like it. Um, I just think, like I said at the beginning, like there's so much bad with this whole COVID-19 stuff, and obviously
Mhm.
with all the other stuff that is going on in our country. It's like we've never seen anything like this. But at the same time, like I said, we have so many more advantages now. Like we're forced to spend more time with our friends and our family. Um,
Mhm.
and we have to really appreciate that, like especially like us, me and you, Jasmine, being in college. Maybe it's we're not going to be as close with our family like in a few years, because maybe we'll be across the country,
Mhm.
something like that. So you really have to kind of like appreciate these times. And I just think that and also like one thing that I thought was cool is like back in 2008 during that recession, there was so much innovation like
Mhm.
that came right after it. And I feel like right now everyone's kind of like bunkered in, trying to think of like the next big thing. So in that sense, there's also gonna be a lot of positive in that sense. We're gonna have a lot of new innovation and stuff like that. But also, I just wanted to say like thank you so much for everything that you guys do. I've been like checking out some of the podcasts, and I think it's super dope. And especially with what you guys have done with like the Asian American All Star Games and stuff in the
We are
past, I
gonna
think.
look it. We're gonna do that together. Once this whole thing wraps up, bro,
Mhm.
it's gonna be this collabo because we need that.
We need to bring SoCal and NorCal together,
Bring the whole
or all over, everyone all over actually.
yeah, because
I
Yeah.
don't know if I told you, I actually went to the game in 2017.
the first
Um,
okay, okay, all right.
because one of my boys, AJ Falak, was playing in the game for the
Well, we
uh,
appreciate that, man. So definitely, world, we're gonna AMAZN and Asian All American Magazine is gonna do something with the showcase in the future once this thing wraps up. Everyone, please be safe. We appreciate your generosity and your time. Jasmine, have a good day. Pranav, have fun at ESPN, baby.